The Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those movies I haven't seen since the early 2000s at a Halloween party. I only watched like 3 way back in the day, and I watched the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. There's nothing quite like it in the horror franchise. We got Michael Myers, who's the silent killer, which is just like Jason. And Chucky, he's kind of like Freddy in a lot of ways, so there's a lot of humor there. But exploring the dream world is something entirely different. We see some of that in fiction, like Ishamael in the Wheel of Time series. And before anyone asks, no, I have no idea if it influenced Robert Jordan's World of Dreams. They both came out around the same time, so it makes me wonder if it is true. But I have no idea. I don't think he ever said that it ever influenced his work. So to get started, this is just my opinion. Before you start typing like crazy about how wrong I am, you're entitled to your own take, and it's perfectly fine for people to have different opinions. And I'll be judging these movies by their performances, their production quality, and the overall plot. So without further delay, let's get into it. Alright, A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. We have a killer who attacks people in their dream where anything is possible. Some of the visuals still hold up really well. I'd say not all of them do from the early classics, but that's okay. Nancy is a very strong protagonist, but her scenes with her parents have some of the weaker acting moments. I mean, overall, her performance is really strong, but there's a few moments where I feel like she's reading from a script. I'm just going to say it. So sometimes they hit that emotion, and sometimes you could tell they're just reciting. Freddy's presence, he's kind of creepy, but sometimes he's unintentionally goofy. His big, elongated arms, I don't know. I wasn't scared about his big arms, chasing him. I thought it was just kind of silly looking. It's very unusual, something you would see in a nightmare, I get it. But for me, it didn't scare me that much. There are some very classic death scenes that are really good. They definitely work. The girl flying up into the ceiling and dying, that was really cool. And the other kid gets sucked into his bed. These are all great death scenes and very iconic. I get it. Some of the things I didn't like was the chase soundtrack. For me, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit at all. It's not memorable. There's no good melody out of it, kind of like the Halloween movies. It just sounds like a workout tape rather than horror. Am I wrong about this? It just sounds like a energetic synth song. I don't know. I don't know if it's synth wave or not. Would you even consider that synth wave, or is it just electronic? I don't know. It doesn't sound that good to me. So overall, this movie has some great ideas. It's very iconic, but it has some flaws for me. So it's going to land in the A tier. Alright, next up we have Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, 1985. This one, I was just as naive as some of the actors because I didn't pick up on all the gay moments. There are so many of them now that I reflect on it. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, we got some obvious ones like the gym teacher and the gay bar, and there's some other things that are going on there. And it's kind of weird because Jesse has a girlfriend at the end of the movie. So I was like, okay, why did they go in this direction in the film? I'm not sure. So it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It's just something that is in the movie. And once you notice it, it's very obvious. It does take a little bit longer to get going, but the characters feel very real and the acting is better than I think in the first film. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but for me, I feel like the emotions and everything were really on point. And Jesse's possession arc gives the story a lot of weight that the original just doesn't have. Because I feel like Freddy taking over your body is a little more scary than, Freddy trying to get you in your dream, you not being in control of who you are. And I think that makes this one a little more dark and a little more scary than the original. But it does get a little bit weird. Him controlling animals and messing with appliances and stepping into the real world. I kind of wonder, how does he even do that? So it's a little weird. But it's The movie is definitely experimenting with what Freddy can do rather than doing the same old thing. They could have just repeated the first movie, but they didn't. They did something different. And there is definitely some really cool scenes where Jesse, he starts transforming into Freddy and takes out one of his best friends. And then once he gets out of the dream world, he's wearing the glove of Freddy. That one was a really cool scene. Very well done from the production side. Overall, I think it's one of the most scariest entries in the franchise. I know there's some argument, there's quite a few other ones that will meet that, but this one is scary and has one of the best emotional acting. For me, this one also earns the A tier spot. Alright, we have Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors 1987. This film builds on the dream world concept by giving the kids their own dream abilities, which is really cool. It's a brand new direction. But it also makes it clear that Freddy has just a stronger willpower and dominates these kids anyways. So they definitely have to get together to beat this killer. They can't do it on their own. It does have some of the best death scenes in the entire franchise. The biggest drawback is how uneven the effects look today. I would say a lot of these movies do. There's just a couple where the resurrected skeleton, it just hasn't aged as well, but it's still watchable. I mean, there's just a few of those, but most of them are done really well. It's just a couple of them I didn't quite like. Even with those issues, it's still a great entry. The dream sequences are very creative. Freddy is more interesting, and the death scenes are definitely more creative in this one. And the story expands on the lore in a lot of different ways. I'd place it in the S tier for me. This is definitely stronger than the originals. The visuals are just even better, even though a few of them weren't up to par. Alright, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master 1988. Alright, so Freddy's resurrection is easily the film's biggest plot hole. I don't get it. Somehow he's just back. The movie never really explains it. The dog pisses fire on his grave and ta-da, he's back. I'm like, okay, but what? You know what I mean? They just buried his skeleton in the last one. That was supposed to kill him off forever. Now, just because a dog pisses fire on it, he's back? Why? I don't get it. And they also decide to kill off all the heroes from the previous film, just to make room for the new cast. It's just a bad choice. I mean, we just get comfortable in learning all these new people. I mean, why not just kill a few of the old cast and keep some of them around? I don't know. They decide to just take them all out. It is a horror movie, and I get it. I guess no one is safe. But just to kill them all off, I don't know. It just seemed weak. It was a weak opening to me. And why these people don't even take the chance that Freddy is not back seriously, I will never understand it. It doesn't make any sense. Alright, so it has a weak opening. Let's just keep on going. This movie also kind of introduces the concept of a Dream Master. It's a unique idea. And I think it was Christian, right? Sorry, I'm getting a little fuzzy here because it's been a while going back, multiple movies. It's Kristen that gave Alice the power of the Dream Master. I guess she can give the power over to her, and she becomes the one that can bring people into the dream, which Freddy needs her to do in order to attack her friends. So that's basically the concept. Apparently she has powers, but it's also a detriment to her. But with each loss, it does push her to grow until she becomes a generally strong protagonist by the end. Because before she starts out very shy and unsure, not sure what to do, kind of just worried about everything. And she kind of becomes stronger, but it comes at a cost. Like all of her friends who die, she gains their powers, which is kind of strange. So it has a mix of cool concepts with some really low budget sound effects in some of these fights. It is really cool, but some of them are not as cool. Half the time it sounds like I'm watching a Bruce Lee parody with all the pow pows noises. This is definitely not necessary to put in the pows and stuff. Why are we bringing this back? I don't know. The film does have some great visuals too, pulling her into the movie screen and also turning her friend into a cockroach. There's some memorable scenes here that will stick with you. But the quality is just all over the place. Sometimes it looks great, sometimes it looks cheap. Even with odd decisions and inconsistencies, the film's imagination and strong character work makes it enjoyable to watch. For me, this belongs in the B tier. Alright, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, 1989. This is one of the stranger entries in the series, and not always in a good way. Alice returns, and this time Freddy is trying to claw his way back in the world through her unborn child. I just don't like it. I don't like this at all. The concept could have been interesting, but it's just weird. In the dream world, he's shown as a 5-year-old that can talk and make cognitive decisions. But how can someone that's still a fetus have any way to talk like that? It makes zero sense to me. And it just wasn't believable. And when a movie makes it unbelievable, it just takes me out of it. The movie also struggles with some other things. Dan falling asleep while driving, even though he's in full adrenaline rush trying to reach Alice. This is like, I'm in danger. Please save me, Dan. And then he's just falling asleep in the wheel, trying to get to her. It makes zero sense to me. Visually, the film shows its age more than some of the other entries. Some of the effects are very rough. The asylum in the background looks like a painted set. I'm just going to say it. It probably was. And some of the other set designs, they just weren't good at all. And baby Freddy is just kind of more weird and creepy. I don't know. It's just goofy. The movie does expand on Freddy's lore by showing more of her mother's backstory. We get a little bit of her in some of the other movies, just kind of her in the background a little bit. But it isn't like that expansive on the lore. It's just kind of stuff we already knew. But it was interesting. Mark turning into a comic book character is one of the more creative dream sequences in the franchise. It fits his personality. And it was really cool to see him animated in a very fun way. Overall, Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is a mix of weird ideas and interesting concepts. It's not bad, but it's not amazing either. I just put it in C tier because there's some cool parts, but there's just some weak areas. And sometimes I feel like the movie is just not trying hard enough. Alright, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Final Nightmare, 1991. This one is weird. I think they were just not really trying to make this a horror movie at all. They were just trying to have fun with them, make this more like a comedy. Because you just can't take this movie serious at all. And you could tell it must have been one of the weaker budgets in the movie. Because why would you create a movie like this? I don't know. The whole plot does revolve around Freddy using one person to track down his daughter. And why? It's confusing. The movie treats it as some big reveal that somehow he needs her daughter to get him to another town so he could kill more people. I just feel like they're just making stuff up on the spot because it just was a weak plot decision that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. The dialogue is very bad. The plot is bad. The CGI is awful. We have demon fish that somehow gave Freddy his powers. We also have him acting like he's the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And then there's one scene where he's controlling a kid with a Nintendo Power Glove, I think it is. And he's like bouncing around like really goofy. I don't know. It's just a comedy. And for some people, this would be great. They love B movies. It's exactly what this movie is. It's a B movie. So if you think it's so bad it's good, and you just want to laugh at it, you'll probably find some entertainment value over how ridiculous it is. But as a Freddy movie, it's easily one of the weakest ones I've seen so far because it's nothing like the other movies. It takes the humor to the umpteenth degree, and it's just weird. But you can enjoy it for what it is, a comedy. So for me, this one goes into, I was going to say an F tier movie, but usually F tier is unwatchable completely. And there are some good death scenes in there, even though most of the movie is just a joke. I'm going to put it in the D tier. Alright, Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. Now, I know a lot of people love the direction this movie took. But for me, the whole idea that the Elm Street movies are a fictional Hollywood production, that the Elm Street movies are a fictional thing and they're doing a Hollywood production about it. But the thing is that the fictional world that they create as a story becomes real in the movie. And I get that it's a really cool angle, I guess, and a lot of people enjoy it. But for me, it just doesn't work. It's just kind of weird. It's weird to make a movie that's fictional that becomes, I don't know. It's a bold idea, but it's a confusing one, and I just didn't quite enjoy it. I didn't like the whole idea of fiction becoming reality. It's disorienting for the audience. It's trying to make something, oh, look at this cool idea, and it's just not that cool to me. I'm sorry. But where this movie really shines is in Freddy's scene, his redesign, the whole elongated tongue and stretched mouth, and the other productions. These death moments to the characters feel alive. They're very creative. I mean, the hospital sequence with the babysitter getting dragged across the ceiling, that's just pure fan service from the first movie. All right, we already seen that before. It's still fun to watch. The final battle, and I don't know if it's the catacombs or whatever you want to call it. The showdown was really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of those scenes were really scary, but I feel like the whole plot was unnecessarily complicated. So even though I enjoyed everything, I mean, you didn't have to complicate the story as much as he did. It's not a bad movie, but it's just an odd choice. For me, with Freddy's moments and a very strong ending, I'm just going to say it's a B tier movie for me. This felt like the last Matrix movie where Neo is watching a show about, Matrix 1. And for me, I didn't like that either. So we're just going to keep on going. I'm sorry. It's B for me, even though a lot of people say it's A. All right, Freddy vs. Jason 2003. All right, this one's just a thriller to me. It doesn't feel like a horror movie. The deaths are over the top of characters flying around in the most goofiest way possible. So even though there's some dumb acting and some dumb moments, I still feel like it's a great movie. The plot is not bad. Freddy using Jason to remind people he exists so he can gain more power is generally an interesting idea. I love the concept. And the twist where Freddy gets mad because Jason keeps stealing all his kills is also hilarious. It gives the story a natural reason for the two of them to face off against each other. And the build up to their showdown feels kind of earned. And when they finally do fight, it's fun and exactly what you want from a crossover like this. So, even though not everything really holds up visually, I mean, the Bug Freddy CGI, it's kind of weird. I'm not going to lie, but it's okay. I mean, it kind of matches some of the other stuff I've already seen with Freddy being goofy. So, yeah, it's a dream world. I'm fine with it. But the glow stick dance scene that's supposed to be, oh, look, it's disorienting. We're at a party. It's blurry and slow-mo. It just looks bad. Like, I don't care about realism. If you care about realism, if you're filming something, you're like, oh yeah, the audience is going to like it. I don't like slow motion, blurry stuff. I don't like shaking cameras. Anytime I see that, I just don't want to watch the movie. That's just my opinion. But I would say most of the production quality is that bad. There's just a few moments that, I just didn't enjoy. All right. So even with its flaws, it's still an enjoyable crossover experience. I'm placing it in the B tier. Alright, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. This one presents Freddy as a predatory figure, as a pedophile. And the parents' retaliation is what leads to his transformation. Because of that shift, the story feels much darker and more uncomfortable than the early movies. The acting is very strong. The movie actually starts off with a lot of promise. The early dream sequences are really well shot, and the atmosphere feels heavier and more grounded. But once the full backstory is revealed, the tone just becomes so unpleasant. It doesn't really add anything to the character. It's not that the film is poorly made, it's that the creative direction makes the experience less enjoyable. Yeah, I don't hate Quentin. I know he's a goofball, but I don't hate him. I don't hate Quentin. I don't mind a lot of the story. I just did not like the direction that they took on Freddy. So yeah, I do think that Freddy feels just a little bit flat in this version. I enjoy the goofy, fun version of Freddy that attacks people. But this whole darker, it isn't bad. I wouldn't say his performance is bad, but it loses that iconic version that we have always known him to be. And yeah, there's some great moments, some great kills that are well executed. The cinematography is very solid, and the film clearly has a lot of effort behind it. But the reimagined backstory just weighs it all down. So, I wouldn't say it's unwatchable. It's not the direction I would have picked for Freddy. So, I almost thought about putting this in D tier, but I think C minus, kind of the very low end of C, is where I'm going to put it. And that's every Freddy movie in the franchise. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.